Sorry, I'm just looking for a coin to flip because I have no idea who's good. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, a podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Every week, I think it's going to get easier, and it doesn't. Grossi, and today, we are going to be attempting to rank the top 10 teams heading into NFL Week 7, and that has been made very difficult because of the most chaotic week yet this season, in which both undefeated teams were massively upset. The 49ers losing to the Browns, the Eagles losing to the Jets, and hell, the Bills, they almost lost to the Giants. And so the entire NFL is in frenzy right now. It's in a flux. And I don't know who the hell is good. We got a whole bunch of 5-1 teams. We got a whole bunch of teams that won, but they don't look good. There's injuries on other teams, and I'm just going to try to make this work and hold on to your butts, because here we go. So starting off with number 10, even though you won, you're falling down this week. You got the Buffalo Bills, and I got to be honest, I almost didn't put them in the top 10. Back-to-back weeks in which their offense has not looked good. It seems like forever ago since they beat the Miami Dolphins. And I was like, ooh, the Bills, they're on a hot streak. They're looking good. Their offense is flowing. They're running the ball well. They're actually giving it to James Cook. And that seems to have gone out the window. They had some success against the Jaguars when they were going hurry up in London last week. But this past week, oh boy, it was a disastrous game. One which they almost lost that game if it wasn't for the Giants. Also, I think the refs helped a little bit. The Giants' incompetence, though, in deciding to throw the ball on the goal line. I don't know why. But listen, the Bills right now, this is them trying to convince their fan base that everything is okay.
All right, I'm going to level with you all. The most important thing now is that you remain calm. There's no reason to panic.
They're not giving the ball enough to James Cook, which I just do not understand. And on top of that, that offense just does not seem to be functional right now. Yeah, they got the win, but again, I cannot reiterate this enough. And sorry, Giants fans, even though you know, the Giants are a very bad football team. They were ranked almost dead last in offense, and in terms of defense, it wasn't much better. Yes, their D-line is good, but they are not a good football team, and the Bills, they shouldn't have been in a battle with them. You look at the Panthers, for example. They go up 14 against the Dolphins. That game ends 42-21. Good teams, for the most part, and I know it's any given Sunday, put bad teams in the dirt. Now, you'll look at the Eagles, they lost to the Jets, and you'll look at the 49ers, and they lost to the Browns. So that's why I'm not taking them off the top 10, but I do have to say, I have a lot of concerns with that offense right now. We already talked about the defensive concerns, about how many injuries they have, Matt Milano, Trey White, but this week should be a get-right game. They're going up against the Patriots, who, again, are a very, very bad team. So, Buffalo, get your crap together.
Get it all together and put it in a backpack. All your shit, so it's together.
Number 9, you got the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, yeah, this is both teams in London.
Oh, what time is it? Time to kick it!
A lot of field goals. Second most in history, apparently. And it was just an ugly offensive and offensive game because both teams could not move the ball, whether you were the Titans or the Ravens. And you can definitely give some credit to the defense of both teams. But overall, there was nothing impressive about this game. Justin Tucker looking like the best player on the Ravens right now. And again, I like the Ravens. I think they're a gritty football team. They're definitely going to be in contention for the AFC North title, which is just a crap show this season. But I just find the lack of consistency is infuriating. They got rid of Greg Roman, and now are they going, wait a minute, was Roman the problem? But at the end of the day, the Ravens got the win. It was really, really ugly. And going forward, hopefully they can find some rhythm on their offense. Number 8, I don't feel good about this at all. You got the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys, they were at 10 last week. They got a win over the Chargers last night. And the Cowboys, I mean, Dak Prescott, he played a really good game. But that game was not good. It seemed like each team was trying to give each other the win. And there were fights pre-game and post-game. I imagine the Chargers, after out-chargering the Cowboys, were like this.
Stay out of my territory.
There's only one LA Chargers. Brandon Staley, who's been bailed out the past couple of weeks, not bailed out on Monday Night Football. And the Cowboys, they took advantage. Dak played a very clean game, had a rushing TD, had a passing TD, had over 200 yards. He played pretty darn well. CeeDee Lamb also having a really nice night. And it just seems like the Cowboys needed a win, especially after getting embarrassed by the 49ers on Sunday Night Football the week prior. So the Cowboys, you stay in the top 10, you move up just a tiny bit, and we'll see how things go for the rest of the season for you. Number 7, and I think it's too high, but again, tell me who's good. You got the Cleveland Browns. And Browns fans, I imagine this is how you're feeling after getting away with that win. Got a little assistance from the refs, but let's be very honest. That game was a crap show. Another pregame scuffle. You had injuries on the 49ers side, and it was just a laundry fest the entire time. Over 20 flags thrown in that game, and it was just a messy game. The weather wasn't good, and PJ Walker, he didn't look great either, but it was the Browns defense that is catapulting them up the rankings right now, because that defense right now, I think, is the best in football, and we're talking historically good. They're holding teams to around 200 yards on average per game. So that's really, really good. Deshaun Watson, of course, did not play. I imagine it would have looked a little bit better, or at least I would like to think it would look better on the offensive side of the ball if he was playing. We don't know the extent of his injury because it was supposed to be something minor. Then they had the bye week and he's still not playing. But either way, a huge win for the Cleveland Browns, and their defense is going to be the story of that game, and rightfully so. And while, yes, they may have gotten a break or two, they still beat the San Francisco 49ers. And so far, no one else has been able to do that this season. So you're number 7. Number 6, you got the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, now we're starting to get to the really good teams. The Jaguars knocking off the Colts, who had no Anthony Richardson, who unfortunately is out for the season. Gardner Minshew, his return to Duval was a rough time. And the Jaguars, after a slow start, them Jaguars got to be feeling themselves now.
What's up, bitches? I'm a man cheater. You want to do something with this?
And the best part is that the offense is still not fully reaching its potential, but they have so many good players. Trevor Lawrence got banged up a little bit. We'll see what his status is for Thursday Night Football. But the big story about the Jaguars is that defense. Their defense looked really good in London against the Bills, and they looked really, really good here against the Colts. And if that defense can be a top 10 defense this year and the offense figures it out, watch out. The Jaguars can definitely be a dark horse team in the playoffs. Now, I will say that division is a little bit of a wonky one. It seems like their main competition is actually going to be the Texans this year. So I do think the Jaguars are going to be able to win that division. It's going to be a matter of how are they going to compete against the elite teams when they get to the postseason. And if their defense keeps playing like this, I think they're going to fare pretty well. Number 5, you got the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs fans, what the hell happened? You didn't win by double digits.
I don't care. There is no meaning to life anymore.
I'm kidding, of course. It would have been better, though, if you won 16-0. Just, it's a meme thing. If you know, you know. But the Chiefs dispatching the Broncos in what was an ugly game on Thursday Night Football. Travis Kelce, of course, having himself a day. Well, of course, Taylor Swift was there. And their offense is a weird one, too. It doesn't look like they're fully gelling either. Patrick Mahomes had a pretty good night, over 300 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But the team just seems odd right now. I like the Chiefs' defense. They played pretty well against Russell Wilson, who really couldn't do anything on Thursday Night Football. But the Chiefs are still a top 5 team. They're sitting pretty at 5-1. They gotta like with the way the rest of the division is panning out too, because they're not really doing anything. And so the Chiefs reclaiming the top 5 spot. Let's see how high you can climb. Number 4, you got the Philadelphia Eagles. And listen, I still think the Eagles are a very, very good team, but good God, Jalen Hurts did not look good on Sunday. And I know they had some injuries, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Lane Johnson getting injured, but it seems like he is going to be okay. But the Eagles losing a tough game against a tough defense, even though the Jets didn't even have Sauce Gardner. And you just got to be a little bit worried at this point. We've been talking about the gelling of the new coordinators on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball for the Eagles. But the offense, I don't know why they're making Jalen Hurts throw it a cajillion times and they're not just handing the ball off. Now, I will say against the Jets, a very, very good defense. Of course, that is going to be tougher. But Eagles fans, after all the experts say there was no way they were going to lose to Zach Wilson,
Science is a liar sometimes.
didn't work out too well. But I will say I'm not going to go all gloom and doom. I think the Eagles are going to be okay, even though they had some bumps in the road. This is their first loss. The 49ers lost as well. They're in a three-way tie for the top seed in the NFC, and it's still early. They're going to have time. The thing is, the Eagles are about to face a tough stretch on their schedule, so we're about to find out how good of a team they really are, and yeah, I imagine they're still going to win the division, but still, a little worrying. Number 3, you got the San Francisco 49ers. Some cracks in the armor beginning to form after winning 16 straight regular season games. And the 49ers, basically everything had to go wrong here. And I think you could still make an argument that they are still the best team. The only reason I don't have them ranked number 1 right now is not because they lost to the Browns. It's who they lost. Deebo Samuel got banged up, Christian McCaffrey getting banged up. And when those guys went out, especially CMC, you saw a major difference on that offense. And listen, the 49ers still have a very good defense, but their offense really kind of relies on those two guys. I know Trent Williams got banged up and then he came back in, but they just did not have an answer for the Browns defense. Brock Purdy really, really struggled. The weather was bad, and of course you do have the refs who did not make things easier for the 49ers. Oh, and Moody also missing some kicks. So basically everything needed to go wrong for the 49ers to lose, which I think is actually some good news for the 49ers because all of those things and all those variables are unlikely to happen week to week. So I think the 49ers will be just fine. Of course, it's going to depend on the extent of those injuries that I mentioned. But yeah, 49ers, you lose the top spot and you're sliding down to number 3. Number 2, you got the Miami Dolphins. Oh, I know what that means. I know, but hear me out. Hear me out. The Dolphins going down 14-0 against the Panthers, but they were able to roar on back and win that game 42-21. And the only reason the Panthers scored another touchdown was because their backup threw a pick 6. And so Mike McDaniel, oh, he's looking at that monster of an offense that he's created.
Do you think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created?
And it is beautiful. Tyreek Hill has over 800 yards already, and we're in week 6 looking to break all the wide receiver records. And the Dolphins, they're breaking just about every offensive record. They are looking insanely good. And of course, they got stomped by the Bills a couple weeks ago, but that is in the rearview mirror. And again, their offense is so good right now. It's so potent that unless you have a very good defense, it is going to be tough to stop them. So we'll see how long the Miami Dolphins can keep this up. But as of right now, Miami has the Dolphins. And that means at number 1, for the first time ever in the history of me doing power rankings, you got the Detroit Lions. I know. Take it in. Absorb it. At 5-1, the Lions went into Tampa and they stomped the Buccaneers. And again, the Lions, they're not even a fully healthy team right now, but they are still feasting.
Looks like kneecap. Back on the menu, boys.
Their defense looked phenomenal against the Buccaneers, and Jared Goff played the game of his life, and Jared Goff MVP is actually something you can say in the same sentence now. And you might be wondering, all right, Tom, well, why are you giving them the number 1 spot over the other 5-1 teams, right? Well, I want to actually take a look at who the Lions have lost to. They lost 1 game, and it was in overtime. It was against the Seahawks, who were a damn tough team. They were in the top 10, and honestly should get an honorable mention from me this week. There you go, Seahawks. And on top of that, they're the only 5-1 team who has beaten another 5-1 team, and that was the Kansas City Chiefs. And so while, yes, they have played teams like the Panthers or the Packers who are not as good, I think the Lions right now have so much momentum. Their coaching is just insanely good right now. Their offense is playing really well, even without a run game. And their defense, that seems to have made the most improvement from last season. So yeah, the Lions, you're number 1 right now. Enjoy it, because right now, you're sitting pretty at the top of Pride Rock. And so just to recap, at number 1, you got the Lions, 2, the Dolphins, 3, the 49ers, 4, the Eagles, 5, the Chiefs, 6, Jaguars, 7, Browns, 8, Cowboys, 9, Ravens, and 10, Bills. But of course, let me know what you think down in the comments below. You know, I saw me at Tom Grossi Comedy. All the social media is seen down below. And a big shout out and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.